Hello, welcome back to the podcast. You might be thinking, Vivian, this title sounds very clickbait. How did a holiday change your life? And I might be over exaggerating a little bit, but I honestly believe that this holiday was a special one. And I'm talking about one that happened in May 2022. So it's a bit of a while ago now. And that's because I didn't have my podcast running at the time. But I haven't forgot about it. I shared in the moment when I was there about how much of a good time I was having, how good I felt during and afterwards. So I don't want it to give it its own podcast episode for even me to refer back to and just bring back those positive vibes that I was feeling during that week. But it felt like a really pivotal moment for me, knowing that on that trip and definitely on the plane home, I had a little moment where I just let everything sink in, and it was honestly a 10 out of 10 trip for me. And I was on my own. This was a solo trip, so I think that might have contributed to it as well. But I just knew that I managed to do everything that I wanted to, eat everything that I wanted to, and I'm going to go into detail on all of these things in the episode. But this was kind of like a turning point for me when I was like, okay, I've healed, I have reached my health goals, my hard work has paid off. And that's why it was a life-changing experience for me. So all of those years of research and hard work and dedication, even visualization, I would when I was doing my visualization practice, categorize into what I want my business to look like and what I want to be doing day to day, who I want to be helping. I had one for my relationships, the type of partner, not just what they look like, but how they make me feel, the type of things that we do together, which I've manifested also in the last year. And then there was one on health, and part of my visual with that was me. I was on a beach, and I wasn't on a beach on this trip, but it just shows you can have something in mind, but it might not look exactly the same, but it was pretty near to it. And it was me just on a beach. I was in my swimming costume or bikini, feeling confident in myself. I was eating good food. I was in the sun, and I just felt this sense of peace, happiness, excitement for life. And I got to have that moment in 2022 on my trip to Madeira. I should say where I went, if you didn't already know from my Instagram stories back in 2022 last year. But I also want to mention I believe that everything happens for a reason, and this trip was kind of in the stars for me. And I personally love astrology and have an app called The Pattern that I really love. And it's always so accurate for me. And this isn't just the astrology that's in the magazines and the newspapers. That's just so general for the 12 different star signs. And this one is based on your unique birth chart. So me being a Virgo sun, I am a Aries moon and a Libra rising. And I was checking it. I check it every so often, but then on the very last day of this trip, I got a notification from the app, and it said that I'm just starting. Like that day, it was a turning point in my life, and I was basically like becoming a different person. I'd started a new cycle that's kind of like a fresh start, new person type of vibes, and I am definitely here for that. I definitely felt that. So you might have also noticed a shift in me if you've been a client of mine or follow me on social media since that point. I just feel like I'm back to my true self again, and I just feel so happy about that. I feel confident. I feel excited after years of struggling with chronic illness. So for context, this holiday, as I said, was back in May 2022, and I went to Madeira. I've actually rebooked to go back this year in May, this time with my boyfriend. And I am excited for that as well, because having a solo trip's good, but now that I know the area and I know the different activities that I want to do, we can totally do different things. I know he wants to go biking when he's out there, whereas I'm not really into that. I would rather go in the spa, to be honest. But I really did tons of activities and didn't really rest at all during that trip, which in previous years, going to Cornwall with my family, so like this seaside coastal town in the UK, it would be very hilly, and even just walking up the hill, I would be exhausted and need to like lie down afterwards. So in comparison, all of the activities that I did in this trip, I literally didn't sit still. I still got a good like tan and everything, but it was just because I was so active and just spent a lot of my time outside. And I never really considered Madeira at all for a holiday, to be honest. I just thought it was where people go on cruises or like older people go. Obviously things like Madeira wine, Madeira cake are from there, but like that didn't really draw me. I don't really drink much. And I've been to Portugal, I've been to Spain and some of the Canary Islands. So Madeira wasn't on my list of like dream places to go to by any means, but I'm so glad that I did went, because it turned out to be a perfect place for me, and it's so beautiful. It's quite small, so I think it was like an hour and a half drive, maybe 2.5 hours from top to bottom of the island, and you're always super close to either the ocean or a mountain, and there was just so much greenery. But it's not really a beachy place. Just a heads up, if you're after like a chill beach holiday, then maybe Madeira isn't for you. And in this episode, I'm not like trying to promote Madeira. I'm not getting paid or anything to do this. I booked my holiday like absolutely on my own. So you don't have to go to Madeira necessarily, but I'm just saying if it's something that you've somewhere that you wanted to visit, I would recommend it. And I went there because it was on the list of countries and places that weren't super strict with vaccine regulations back in 2022 or end of 2021 when I booked, because I don't have the COVID vaccinations and I couldn't go to certain countries at the time. They were super strict. So I think most places have calmed down now, which is good, and just shows like that whole crazy period was very like, I'm not getting to it. Anyway, so yeah, I went to Madeira and I'm so glad that I did. And I know that I am extremely lucky to be able to go on holiday, number one, and to such a nice place that I went to. But I do work hard throughout the year, wanted a nice break, not that I need to justify myself. And I'm not saying that you need to go on holiday to feel good about yourself or to support your healing or anything like that. But I mean, if you can, I think you should. It can make a big difference as well, just being in the sun, changing up your environment. So just take that into consideration. And so many people are overdue a nice holiday. And I joke with clients sometimes that, shall I just write in your protocol that you need a 6-month holiday twice a year? And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. But I do tell them to spend more time outside, go to the ocean if they live nearby. So they always love those types of recommendations. I think that being on my own on that trip made also a big difference. I've only really done short trips in England alone before, and also when I did the Camp America thing in, how old was I? I was 19. I flew out to New York City on my own and then kind of navigated camp and everything. I did make friends and I stayed a few extra days at the end of the trip on my own in New York too. And I was quite proud of that at the time, navigating the airport in New York. So I think the trip was great because I went on my own and just the place in general and the things that I got up to. But just for a little bit more context, the town that I was in is called Canico, and it's just outside of the city, which is Funchal, and it's more of the like coastal area. And I had originally planned to go away. So I think at the end of 2021, I booked to go on holiday with my ex-boyfriend, but we broke up like pretty early 2022. And we were planning on going to Croatia. So like pretty different place, but we obviously broke up and then cancelled that holiday. I didn't really want to go. I didn't feel drawn to go to Croatia on my own. But I think after a few months, I was like, I really want to go on holiday still. And I've got some of the money left over and I want to just still have a holiday. I don't need to have someone with me to do that. So I still went in mid-May and I was so excited. And I felt that trip, I remember thinking, I am nowhere near as organized or scheduled as I have been with other holidays in the past. With those, I had literally planned every single activity, my daily schedule, where I'm going to eat every meal, things that I was going to be doing by the hour. And I think it's just part of me healing and reducing inflammation, stress hormones. I'm less sensitive now, so I'm more free with what I can eat. I'm trying to embrace more of my feminine energy as opposed to masculine energy, just going with the flow a little bit more. I'm still a bit of a control freak. But I just realized, should I be like booking something now, or what am I going to do when I get there? Or I had some set things that I was going to do, because just in the hotel I had different activities that I was to do every day. Like I'll go into it a little bit more, but I had like something to do on a Monday, Tuesday, and so on. But apart from that, I had nothing else planned. I knew that I wanted to go for like a hike. I knew that I wanted to go into the city, but I just remember thinking, I don't feel like I am that organized this time around, but it also felt good. And I thought I'd just like trust how I was feeling and go with the flow. Previously, holidays for me have been such a stressful time. So I pretty much didn't really like go away at all. I definitely didn't do solo travel because I wouldn't be able to like navigate things, take care of myself. So I had pretty much a yearly holiday to Cornwall all of those times. But I only went abroad in 2017 to New York City with my mum and dad, and then to Barcelona. That was for my dad's 60th, I think, just a few years before his 60th. And that was with my parents, my brother, and his, at that time, fiance. And I didn't really have a great time on reflection. I didn't really take any photos. I spent my days, we had a nice time, but I was just looking around all day for places to eat, just Googling, looking at reviews, walking. Like they'd sit down to a nice tapas in Barcelona, and I'd be like, right, I'm off now to this vegan restaurant thing, and I don't even eat vegan food, but just because I couldn't really at the time eat things like tomatoes and chorizo and all of that, I just like walked the city on my own and found somewhere, and it was so expensive. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, this is nice, but it was actually not good. It was just like this over expensive salad that I ended up eating. I didn't feel confident in my skin, my clothes. I was having to separate from my family, and it just didn't feel worth it for me to put myself through all of that travel, disruption to my routine, and spend all of that money on trips for me to not actually enjoy it. And another huge thing this time was how few supplements and products that I took with me. In these previous holidays, I would have packed so much stuff, and it would have been the bulk of my luggage allowance, to be honest, like protein powders, digestive enzymes, probiotics, magnesium, so much stuff. This time, I took two things with me. I took some emergency snacks, some protein bars, because I knew that I was doing a lot of activities and long walks, and I didn't want to be stuck without food options on those days. But in the end, I was actually fine, because I really filled myself up at the hotel with breakfast and evening meal. And then for lunch, there was always like a meat option, a vegetable option, and lots of protein, good quality proteins. They're really into the meats over there, which I love. And they had some gluten-free options too. But yeah, previously I took so much stuff with me, especially abroad. But this time I took, I think it was magnesium, just because it's something that affects so many different things in the body, over 3,000 different functions. So I'm trying to choose something that hits multiple different points. And also I took a binder, just because it's one that helps keep my histamine levels at bay. And just in case I had any food poisoning events, I was just thinking ahead that could also be multi-purpose. And those are the two products that probably make the biggest difference for me at the time. So they were two products that I took with me. And I'm sure there was days that I forgot to take them. And even the snacks that I took, I had a lot of things left over. It was the food and eating situation that I think was the biggest thing that made me realize how far I had come with my healing journey on that trip. Because like I said, on previous trips, I would take so many things to help me digest my food. I would have bags of snacks and foods just in case I needed them. And at restaurants, I would just feel so stressed all the time because there was so much on the menu that I couldn't eat or thought I couldn't eat, with the types of oils that they were using. And I just felt like such a burden to ask for what I wanted. So sometimes a meal would be fine, but there was just one ingredient on there that I was actually sensitive to. So instead of just asking for it to be removed, I would just think, oh, I don't want to be a pain. I'll just kind of eat later. And in Madeira, ate pretty much everything that I wanted to, including some gluten, which isn't a regular part of my diet by any means. And this was when I had just finished up, it's called a Levada trail in Madeira. So it's these like little canal river walks that drain water from the mountains into the city. So there's miles and miles of Levada trails. So I was doing one of those in a group. And at the end of it, we had coffee at this cute little cafe. And the woman who ran it was this cute old Portuguese lady. And she came around to the group and offered us all a biscuit. And just her face, she was just so happy and wanting to share and feed us up. And I just knew in that moment that I would be fine. My body could handle it, which it did. I was absolutely fine, no issues at all. Whereas in previous years, the smallest bit of gluten would have caused a reaction, joint pain, fatigue, stomach issues the next day. This time, nothing at all. And I think my mindset in that moment helped. I think the quality of the ingredients helped. I think the love that went into it, the energetic side of things helped as well. Probably me moving my body, being outdoors for the past few hours, being in the sun. And that was a few days into the trip. So I would have been relaxed. I would have been just in holiday mode. And I think that's why I was able to tolerate it. But even since that point, I've had little bits here and there and nowhere near as bad of a reaction, pretty much nothing. But even with that, I still choose to not eat it on a regular basis because I know that it is something that if my bucket fills up, if I have too much of it, then I probably will react. So I just want to control what I can. And I don't really want to eat gluten on a regular basis anyway. The hotel that I stayed at also had really nice food in the breakfast and in the evenings. They had an all-you-can-eat buffet. And they clearly displayed gluten-free options and had some different meals. They didn't really have like many pasta dishes or anything either. So it's all like meat and potatoes and polenta. And if you saw pictures that I posted on those evenings, you know that I made the most out of that all-you-can-eat buffet. I really packed my plates. I had multiple different things. I wasn't overdoing it. I just really had a big appetite from all of the action-packed days that I was on, which I'll talk more about in a second. But I'd say the food quality is definitely like a huge thing over there, so much better. They use a lot of things locally grown because it's an island. They can't really like ship a million things into there. But I also noticed hardly any histamine reactions at all. And I was eating a lot of tomatoey based things, and I was having some cheese. I was having cheese omelets every day and didn't have a reaction. I would have chocolate, gluten-free puddings. And I think the overall environment helped. I think the quality of the food helped. I think it was just super fresh. But a couple of days before my holiday, I'd had my braces removed. If you'll follow me at that point, you know, I had like the proper metal wired braces on top and bottom for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And 2 days before my holiday, I was determined to get them off because my teeth were pretty much straight and finished at that point. But that was a bit of a rush. I was like, they're coming off. If there's a little bit of a crookedness, I don't care. I want them off for this holiday. So I can enjoy myself and not worry about if there's food stuck in there, and take my water pick and flosser. And it's just, I was sick of all of the chaos. I just wanted to be a bit more of a minimalist for once. So I had the braces off, and then I realized on that holiday, I had minimal histamine reactions. And that had reduced anyway since moving. So in 2020, 2021, it had reduced, 2022, it had reduced. But even more so after I had the braces out, I think I was reacting unknowingly to the metal in my mouth constantly. And that is even a stress on the immune system, a constant trigger. And it's a kind of like a magnet for EMFs. It's just going to exacerbate the EMFs that you're exposed to because it's like a conductor in your mouth. Same thing with wired bras. You don't really want to be using those at all. That can stop your lymphatic flow too. But yeah, maybe I'll do a whole nother episode on that. But also the braces thing and the histamine, I do want to talk more about it. But I think that's part of the reason that I had such a good time and felt so good during the holiday. Being able to finally eat what I want was such a huge thing for me, because all of those years of feeling anxious at mealtime, stressed, restricted, it was just a nightmare for me as someone who just wants to eat healthy food. I want to nourish my body. I love food. And to be able to just do that, it was just like, oh my God, this is my ultimate dream. I had so many other symptoms and issues with my skin and my hair and my weight. But at the end of the day, I really think it was the food stuff that was causing the most depression and sadness for me. And it's not that important, but I actually weighed myself after the trip because of how much food I ate. And I actually didn't put on any weight at all, mainly because of how active I was. So it just goes to show you can enjoy yourself on a trip. You don't have to be super strict with everything. And I ate a lot, but it was all good food. And I kind of balanced it out with activity too. So onto the fitness and exercise side of things, I've just got a few little stories that I want to share here. And I have to keep reminding myself as well, because I think these were really important for me to experience. So on the trip, I had some activities already planned through the hotel and local activity places. And I signed up to what said CrossFit on there. And I was at the time, I think, or just after working, he was a CrossFit trainer, but it wasn't a CrossFit class. It was just a one of the trainers doing his own PT work. So I was doing once or twice a week. So I thought, good, they'll just be lifting and strength training. But when I turned up, it was pretty much an intense HIIT circuit class. So the typical hardcore clips you see of CrossFit, it was that. And I was immediately like, oh God, I have chosen the wrong thing. And it was just after breakfast, a few days into it was towards the end of my trip actually. And this guy, he was lovely. He was really good, really great PT. But I had filled in a little medical form beforehand, but obviously couldn't put too much on there. And it didn't really ask too many questions. It was just how old are you? How often do you train? Usually, which I trained maybe 4 or 5 times a week at the time, but nothing too intense. And I would tell him as we got started, anytime that my heart rate gets too high, I kind of freak out a little bit. And this is because in my health history, anytime that would happen, I've got an experience of fainting or just having these health crashes, because I developed a condition called PCOS a few years ago. And it just means that my heart rate, my blood pressure was really crazy. And my body just wouldn't let me push myself. So I didn't really train cardio at all. And since that, I have really upped it more, because I realized my cardiovascular fitness is really bad, even though I'm quite strong and fit in terms of muscle and lifting. Anytime I try and push myself with cardio, even on some of those walking trails, I would just get so out of breath. I couldn't breathe properly. My heart rate would be so high. I get dizzy because I wasn't oxygenating. So I would tell him I can't do this. I can't push myself. And he was Portuguese. He spoke English, but I don't think I felt a bit angry at the time. I was like, you're not listening. I have previous health issues. I can't push myself. I get dizzy. I might faint. And he was like, you can do it. You're fine. But I was just thinking he was looking at me thinking, oh, she's quite fit and active. She's young. And I just felt annoyed that he wasn't listening. But he just knew, he could see that I could do it. So even though I might need a little break after doing some, he was doing wall throws with a ball, with a heavy ball, and I would need a minute to recuperate and sit down and get my heart rate slower. He was like, this is normal. People need to do this. People get a little bit dizzy sometimes, a bit of a head rush. If they're pushing themselves, it doesn't mean that anything's going to happen. So he could tell that I wasn't to the point where I was about to faint. I just was so in my head. And every time I kept saying, I want to stop, can I just do 10 instead of 20? He was like, no, just do it. Even if you go slower. He was just pushing me. And it really was mind over matter, because I managed to do everything that he said. And I, in the moment, was dripping with sweat. like my whole body was like a river. But afterwards, I felt so good. And I was like, this is amazing. If he hadn't have pushed me, and if I didn't know that I was absolutely fine now, I can do this type of workout after years of sometimes not being able to exercise at all, I would have stuck inside my comfort zone. But cardiovascular fitness is so important. And I just got used to not really training it at all. So he just opened my world up and made me realize that I have healed. I'm not in the same place. I don't have to stick inside this little bubble where I do the same things over and over again. I can do different things, and it's important to do that. The other thing that I did as an activity was squash. And I really loved that. That was like a one-on-one squash lesson. I've never done it before. And I absolutely loved it. My arm the next day was in pain. It was dead. But it was really worth it. And that's just another lesson for me to try new things because you might really enjoy them. Another new experience was scuba diving for me. And I don't know why, but I just had the urge. I want to do it because they had this award-winning, I don't know what they call, like, it's not like a nature reserve, but like this sectioned off area that was really beautiful, and it had won awards for the different fish and all of that that's under the ocean. And our hotel was on a cliff edge, so I thought I'd try them out while I was there. And I just went for it, and that's my type of personality. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it, and I need to do it straight away. Otherwise, I'll start procrastinating. But as I was filling out the health forms, they had some questions on there, like, are you prone to fainting and dizziness? Have you got a health history of blood pressure issues? Have you struggled with like anxiety, or like loads of different things? And I was like, I could tick yes for pretty much all of these. So I did, but as the guy was going through the forms with me, I just kind of said, it's not a regular thing. I've not fainted in years. I just, at that point, still frequently got the feeling of dizziness if I push myself too much with exercise, if I have too many coffees. But he was just saying he'll be mindful, he'll help guide me through. And if at any point I don't feel well, just tell him in the moment. And he will like take me back up to the surface. But then I started getting in my head, and I was like, oh my God, what if I faint like under the water? What if I don't feel well? Because as he was teaching me, he said, we can't go straight back up. Once you're under the water a few meters down, it's dangerous to shoot straight back up to the top. So then I was like, in my head, way too much. And we were practicing the pool for half an hour or so, just trying to get the breathing underway. And I figured it out. I got the breathing. I got the breathing correct. And then we finally like went into the sea. And first time I went under, I panicked a little bit and just came straight back up. But then he was like, do not do that. I was like, okay. And then we went under, and I couldn't figure out, so there's this button that you need to press to like inflate or deflate your life jacket to make you more heavy, or like bring you back up to the surface in terms of buoyancy. I just couldn't figure that out because I was just, this is brand new and I just want to focus on my breathing. So he did that for me, and I just held onto his arm and he just guided me around the different corals and the fish. And it was a really like amazing experience to see all of that. But then for you, like, I don't know how long we were in there in total, but towards the end, I was getting a little bit seasick as we got down to the bottom, because you're pretty much like lie down flat on your stomach and you're like swimming through. And I just felt a little bit off balance, and that can happen, especially if you're quite deep. And he was telling me these hand signals, basically like thumbs up means I want to go up, and the okay sign is I'm good, like I'm okay. So it was funny because he kept asking me over and over again, like, are you okay? So I would say, yes, I'm okay. But then as I started to feel sick, I really wanted to go back up, and I was getting a bit cold, honestly, as well, because we've been in water for such a long time, and the equipment's like really heavy. And so I was just a little bit tired. I think I'd been in the gym that morning as well. And I'd seen all that I wanted to see. So he asked me again, like, are you okay? And I did the thumbs up. So I was saying, I want to go up. And he said in response, okay. I'm doing the hand signals. If you're watching on YouTube, like, you'll know how I got confused. But then he didn't really take me back up. And I was like, does he understand what I'm saying? So I kind of tapped him again and I did a thumbs up, like, I want to go up again. And he just said, okay. And then I realized later that he was slowly taking me up, but it's just because he can't go straight back up. He was slowly like weaving his way and slowly like getting the water pressure and everything off us, so we can safely go back up to the surface. But I just thought, this guy like isn't listening to me. I don't feel well. Then that was making me panic. But in that experience, I realized that if I overthink it, I'm going to feel panicky. So I just need to focus on my breath and focus on like looking at the amazing views that I can see, and what an amazing experience it was. I don't know if I'd do it again. And this was right near to the kind of steps to get out. So some people go in a boat and literally go in the middle of the ocean. I don't know if I would want to do that. But I'm really glad that I did it, and just shows that I was fine. And you can really panic yourself into a reaction if you think about it too much. But I am proud of myself for doing it. The fact that I traveled alone was really nice because I got to do exactly what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I didn't feel lonely at all. I was just chatting to like different people there, and on the different excursions and trips, like I was chatting to those people as well. It was a tiny bit awkward eating alone at the restaurant, especially in the evening, but I soon got over it. Like after a day or two, I was absolutely fine. Other people were in there on their own, mainly men, but I didn't really see any women on their own. But the area was just so safe. Not once did I feel scared. Everyone was like so protective and lovely, and I just focused on eating my meal. I sat myself outside instead of like in the restaurant, so I was overlooking the nice views, and I took my headphones out, listened to a podcast, sometimes read a book during my meal time. And some other factors that can just generally help on holidays, and I think I was just so overdue a holiday at this point, because the last time I'd been abroad was 2019. So it'd been 3 years because of lockdowns and COVID and all of that. I think my body was just desperate for sun, probably vitamin D deficient, and the weather was so nice overall. There were the odd little rain showers because it can be very unpredictable on the island. But you can like for 1 minute like go somewhere and it's fine, and then 2 minutes later it's rainy and drizzly. But it was nice and warm, but not too hot, which was good because I had a lot of outdoor activities. But yeah, I think just getting that sun on my skin just made the world of a difference. I had an ocean dip every day. So there wasn't a beach, but there were just in the poolside area, there were steps down into the sea, and the water was pretty choppy. And I thought I was like almost going to drown one day because the waves were just so big, and I didn't realize, but there was a lifeguard there. Thankfully, I probably am over exaggerating, but I look like an idiot. But I wouldn't properly swim because I didn't want to go too far out with the water being so like wavy. And I was swimming in the pool, and yeah, I don't think I needed to swim that much. I really just did it for the minerals, the ocean minerals, the magnesium, the sodium, all that goodness. So what I would do is, for example, when I went to the PT trainer or in the gym, I then had a little shower off and then jumped straight in the ocean. I got my scalp under it, my hair, my skin, and I just felt so good and so relaxed. It's kind of like having a magnesium bath every day. So I slept like a baby. I did grounding daily. I was walking around with no shoes on, getting that those negative ions into my body, and that really helps with things like time zone changes. Not that I had any sleep issues. I forgot what it's called. Jet lag. I didn't have any jet lag. It was only a 4-hour flight from Manchester. And then there was also a spa, steam room, cold water, plunge thing in the hotel. So I was doing that every day. One day I spent like 2 to 3 hours in the sauna. They just had these amazing chairs that you just look out over the ocean in. So you can tell why I'm so excited to go back in May of this year, this time with my boyfriend. So I get all of those benefits, plus having him there. and I am just so excited. We're going a week earlier than I did last time, but I hope that the experience is going to be even better this time round. And I'm purposely not going to share the name of the hotel in this episode. I mean, if you really want to know, you can message me, but I'm not doing it for a few reasons. For one, I am not getting paid to promote them, so not going to just like put the name out there. And ties into number two, I don't want it to get more busy because then I can't book. So if everyone starts going, not that this has millions of downloads or anything, but yeah, I want to keep it nice and lovely and quiet and make sure that I can get myself in probably every year moving forward. And I don't want you to be thinking that you have to go to the exact same hotel and the exact same place that I did to have a similar experience. I want you to research, see what's in budget for you, see what you're called to. I was just really called to this hotel when I saw it online, and I want you to do the same for yourself. I'll be sharing videos and pictures on social media in May when I go again, so you can always follow along there to see my next trip. I'm at Viva Natural Health on Instagram, as I probably won't need to do another full podcast episode on every holiday for the rest of my life. So I will share on Instagram for now. And if there is anything major that happens or any insights, you know that I'll be on here sharing with you guys later in the year. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're currently on your healing journey, I hope this inspires you to know that you can get to a point where you can enjoy life again and travel. Reach out if you need help getting there though, because I know it can just be a minefield and it's just so hard to navigate. So I would love to help you navigate that a little bit more. Plus, if you're in a pretty healthy state at the moment and you can go on holiday, please appreciate that. Be grateful for your health and the opportunity to do so and the possibility to travel with no restrictions, because unless you've been there, it's hard to know what it's like, but it's such a special thing and not many people can do that in the world. So enjoy the rest of your day wherever you're at, and I'll see you back here next week. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love for you to leave me a rating and review on your podcast app, as this helps to support the show and it allows it to reach more people with this valuable information. Come and say hi over on Instagram. I'm at Viva Natural Health. And if you haven't already, check out my website, vivanaturalhealth.co.uk, for tons more free resources and to discover how I could support you further. I currently offer one-on-one consultation packages if you want my top level support, then more affordable group programs and self-paced online courses. So there really is something for everyone. If you're ready to change and get some answers but aren't sure which option would be best, take that first step today and apply for a free enrollment call on my website, and we'll discuss the best steps for you to take in order to achieve hormonal harmony. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.